The shadows flickered and danced under the dim, fractured light of the two moons. The alien city of Zyre, hidden beneath its cloaking field, was a labyrinth of shimmering towers and winding alleys, pulsing with an otherworldly glow. Among the shadows, whispers carried tales of a human resistance, swift, elusive, and impossible to catch. General Terex of the Ilonians was frustrated. The human insurgents had evaded capture for months, despite the advanced technology and surveillance capabilities of his forces. He prided himself on strategic brilliance, yet these Terrans, with their baffling tactics, had reduced his efforts to a game of chasing ghosts. These humans, Terex growled to his second-in-command, what strategy could possibly allow such primitive creatures to outmaneuver us? They call it hide-and-seek, General, said Kale, a lean and analytical Ilonian officer. It's not a strategy, it's a children's game. Terex's crystalline eyes narrowed. A game? And you think this game is what's allowing them to evade our detection? Preposterous. Kale hesitated, then pressed on. I've studied their patterns. They're using techniques from this game to disappear and reappear unpredictably. It's not their technology, it's their adaptability. Their ability to blend into their environment, to wait, to strike when least expected. It's unlike anything we've encountered. Intrigued despite his irritation, Terex ordered his forces to capture one of these elusive humans. If they could understand the mechanics of this so-called game, perhaps they could neutralize its effectiveness. Meanwhile, deep within the city's underbelly, Captain Elena Reyes of the Terran Resistance was orchestrating another daring maneuver. Her unit, small but resourceful, had mastered the art of using the city's layout and the Ilonians' overconfidence against them. Their strategy wasn't just about survival, it was about buying time for the larger resistance effort. Elena, they're scanning again, whispered Jonas, a wiry technician with a knack for hacking into Ilonian systems. We've got 30 seconds before their drones sweep this sector. Positions, Elena ordered, her voice calm but firm. You know the drill. Blend, vanish, and reappear. As the drones passed, the humans seemed to dissolve into the shadows, their movements synchronized with an almost uncanny precision. When the sweep ended, they emerged as if from nowhere, continuing their mission without a trace. But their luck didn't hold. An Ilonian patrol, equipped with enhanced sensors, intercepted their path. Caught off guard, Elena and her team found themselves surrounded, their usual tactics ineffective against the advanced technology. Humans, Terex said, descending from his command ship to confront the captured insurgents. Your games have caused enough disruption. Surrender and perhaps you'll find mercy. Elena met his gaze without flinching. You don't understand what you're up against. It's not a game. It's who we are. Terex, intrigued by her defiance, ordered her taken for questioning. But even as she was led away, Elena's mind raced. If they could use the Ilonians' curiosity against them, perhaps the setback could become an opportunity. Locked in an interrogation chamber, Elena faced Kale, whose fascination with human behavior had led him to study their customs and strategies. Explain this hide-and-seek, Kale demanded. How does it give you an advantage? Elena smirked. It's not the game, it's the mindset. It's about knowing when to hide and when to seek. It's about understanding your opponent's blind spots, their weaknesses. It's about patience, creativity, and unpredictability. Kale listened intently, his analytical mind absorbing every word. Meanwhile, Elena subtly observed his reactions, noting his curiosity and willingness to question orders. If she could exploit that, she might turn him into an unwitting ally. As days passed, Kale found himself increasingly perplexed by the humans. Their ability to adapt, to turn the simplest of concepts into a survival mechanism, defied his understanding of strategy. Intrigued, he began to question the Ilonians' reliance on technology over intuition. Elena, he said during another interrogation, if this mindset is so effective, why reveal it to me? Because understanding it won't help you stop us, Elena replied. It's not something you can replicate, it's something you have to feel. Her words planted a seed of doubt in Kale's mind. Meanwhile, the resistance, undeterred by Elena's capture, continued their missions. Using decoys and misdirection, they turned the Ilonians' own surveillance network against them, creating confusion and chaos. When a critical resistance operation threatened to expose their entire network, Elena saw her chance. During a staged escape attempt, she confronted Kale. You know your people are losing this fight, she said. Join us. Help us end this before it's too late. Kale hesitated, torn between loyalty to his command and the growing realization that the humans' resilience held a lesson the Ilonians desperately needed to learn. His decision would change everything. Kale's decision did not come easily. The weight of his loyalty to General Terex and the Ilonian Empire clashed against the undeniable respect he had developed for the humans' ingenuity. For days, he grappled with the implications of betraying his command. Yet, every interrogation conversation with Elena chipped away at his resolve, her words a relentless echo in his mind. "Kale," she had said during one of their exchanges, "your technology is unmatched, but it's your reliance on it that blinds you. You've forgotten how to rely on instinct, on connection. That's why you can't find us." Meanwhile, the Resistance prepared for their most daring mission yet, infiltrating the Ilonian Central Command Hub within Zaire. Jonas, the technician, had discovered a vulnerability in the Ilonians' network, a brief window during their system's recalibration cycle that could allow the Resistance to plant a virus and disable key surveillance systems. But the operation required precise timing and unwavering coordination. "We're going to need a distraction," Jonas said, his tone grim, "something big enough to pull their focus away from the hub." Elena, aware of her limited options while in captivity, began planting the seeds of doubt in Kale's mind. "You could help us," she said, "not for us, but for what your people could learn. If you really want to understand the game, Kale, you need to play it." Kale, increasingly disillusioned with Terex's methods, began to see the wisdom in Elena's words. The Ilonian general had grown impatient, his tactics becoming more oppressive and indiscriminate. Kale knew that continuing on this path would only deepen the divide between their species. One fateful evening, Kale approached Elena's holding cell. "If I were to assist you," he began, his voice measured, "what guarantee do I have that your Resistance won't turn this alliance into another game of deception?" Elena's gaze was steady. "The guarantee," she said, "is that you're not doing this for us. You're doing it for what you believe is right. Trust isn't given," Kale discerned. With the seeds of trust cautiously sown, Kale orchestrated a plan to aid Elena's escape. Using his authority to override security protocols, he smuggled her out under the guise of a routine transfer. The escape was fraught with tension, as patrols and surveillance drones prowled the corridors of Zaire's underbelly. When they reached the rendezvous point, Elena's team emerged from the shadows, their relief tempered by the presence of an Ilonian. "You brought one of them?" Jonas hissed, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. "Stand down," Elena ordered. "He's with us. For now." Kale, though wary of the human's hostility, maintained his composure. "You need me," he said simply. "Your mission to disable the hub will fail without my knowledge of its systems." Jonas muttered under his breath but relented. The team, though hesitant, began to integrate Kale into their planning. His insights proved invaluable, revealing weaknesses in the hub's defenses that the Resistance had not considered. As the day of the operation approached, the tension within the team was palpable. The success of the mission hinged on their ability to trust one another, a fragile trust that was tested repeatedly. For Kale, the experience was both humbling and enlightening. The humans' resourcefulness, their ability to adapt and improvise, was unlike anything he had encountered. On the night of the mission, the team infiltrated the hub under the cover of darkness. Kale's guidance allowed them to navigate the labyrinthine corridors undetected, while Jonas worked to upload the virus. The operation was a symphony of coordination, each member playing their part with precision. But as the virus began to take effect, an alarm sounded. Terex, whose paranoia had driven him to implement additional security measures, had anticipated an attack. The team found themselves trapped, their exit routes blocked by Ilonian patrols. Kale, realizing that their survival depended on decisive action, stepped forward. "I'll create a diversion," he said. "It's the only way." Elena hesitated, her instincts warning against trusting him completely. But time was running out. "Do what you need to," she said. "We'll cover you." Kale moved swiftly, using his access codes to disable key security systems and draw the patrols away from the team's position. His actions bought the Resistance the time they needed to escape, but at a cost. Terex, furious at the breach, ordered Kale's immediate arrest, branding him a traitor. The team, though shaken by the close call, succeeded in their mission. The hub's surveillance network was crippled, giving the Resistance a crucial advantage. Yet, the cost of their success weighed heavily on Elena. Kale's sacrifice had been unexpected, his actions a stark reminder of the complexities of trust and loyalty. As the Resistance regrouped, Elena vowed to honor Kale's contribution. "He wasn't just playing the game," she said. "He was changing it, and so will we." Kale's capture by General Terex sent ripples of shock through the Ilonian command. Terex, whose confidence in Kale's loyalty had been absolute, now viewed the defection as a personal betrayal. He interrogated Kale relentlessly, seeking to understand why one of his most trusted officers had turned against him. "You betrayed your people," Terex snarled, his crystalline eyes blazing with fury. "For what? A human game? Their primitive tactics? You've thrown away everything for nothing." Kale, though weary, held his ground. "You misunderstand, General. It's not about the humans' tactics. It's about what they've taught me, what we've forgotten. We rely on machines to think for us, to decide for us. But the humans, they rely on each other. other. That's why they succeed where we fail. Terex dismissed Kale's words as the delusions of a traitor, but the seeds of doubt began to take root. Even as he tightened his grip on Zaire, Terex could not deny the increasing effectiveness of the human resistance. His frustration grew, leading him to escalate his campaign with greater brutality. Meanwhile, the resistance, emboldened by their recent success, began to plan their next move. The destruction of the surveillance hub had created a window of opportunity to strike at one of the Ilonians' key supply depots. Jonas and Elena worked tirelessly to gather intelligence, their efforts fueled by the knowledge that Kale had sacrificed his freedom for their cause. But the team's morale was strained. The loss of Kale, whose insights had been instrumental to their operations, left a void that was difficult to fill. Elena, though determined to press forward, could not shake the weight of guilt that hung over her. During a quiet moment, Jonas approached her. "You did what you had to do," he said. "Kale knew the risks." "That doesn't make it easier," Elena replied. "He trusted us, and now he's paying the price." As the team prepared for the depot assault, they received unexpected news. Kale had escaped custody. The details were vague, but the message was clear. He was alive and on the run. The resistance immediately began working to locate him, knowing that his survival was critical to their efforts. Kale's escape was nothing short of miraculous. Using his knowledge of the Ilonian systems, he had manipulated his captors into creating an opportunity for him to slip away. Though wounded and exhausted, he navigated the labyrinthine streets of Zaire, evading patrols with a skill that surprised even himself. His journey led him to the outskirts of the city, where he encountered a group of displaced humans who had taken refuge in the shadows of Zaire's towering structures. The group, initially wary of the Ilonian, eventually recognized him from the Resistance's accounts. Though hesitant, they provided him with shelter and supplies, their gratitude for his actions outweighing their mistrust. As Kale regained his strength, he reflected on the lessons he had learned from the humans. Their resilience, their ability to adapt and survive in the face of overwhelming odds, was a stark contrast to the Ilonians' rigid reliance on technology. He realized that the true power of hide-and-seek was not in its tactics, but in its ability to forge connections and foster trust. Determined to rejoin the resistance, Kale began to search for a way to contact Elena and her team. His efforts were fraught with danger, as Terex had mobilized the full force of the Ilonian military to track him down. Yet, Kale's newfound understanding of the game allowed him to stay one step ahead, his movements a blend of calculated risk and instinct. When Kale finally reunited with the resistance, his arrival was met with a mix of relief and suspicion. Jonas, ever the skeptic, questioned the timing of his escape. "How do we know this isn't some kind of trap?" he asked. Elena, though cautious, chose to trust Kale. "If it is," she said, "then we'll deal with it. But right now, we need him." Kale, grateful for their trust, shared the information he had gathered during his captivity. His insights revealed a critical vulnerability in Terex's command, a network of hidden supply routes that could be exploited to cut off the Ilonians' resources. The resistance, armed with this knowledge, launched a series of coordinated strikes that disrupted the Ilonians' operations and further destabilized Terex's hold on Zaire. Kale, now fully integrated into the team, played a key role in planning and executing these missions, his expertise and determination earning the trust of even the most skeptical members. As the tide began to turn, Terex found himself increasingly isolated. His paranoia grew, leading him to lash out at allies and subordinates alike. The once formidable general, whose strategic brilliance had been his hallmark, was now a shadow of his former self. The resistance, sensing an opportunity to end the conflict, began to plan their final assault on Terex's command center. The operation, fraught with risk, required every member of the team to play their part with precision. For Kale, the mission represented a chance to fully redeem himself, a chance to prove that he had truly embraced the lessons of hide and seek. The final assault on Terex's command center was a mission of unparalleled complexity. The resistance, though resourceful, knew that the Ilonians' defenses were formidable. Every detail of the plan had to be precise, every movement synchronized. For Kale, the operation was not only a strategic challenge, but a deeply personal one. Terex had been his mentor, his leader, and now his adversary. The team gathered in their makeshift base, a hidden cavern beneath Zaire's industrial district. Elena, her voice steady but tinged with determination, outlined the mission. "We strike at dawn," she said. "Terex will expect us to come in force, but we'll use that against him. Small teams, coordinated strikes." And Kale, she turned to the Ilonian, her gaze unwavering. "You'll lead the infiltration unit." Kale nodded, his crystalline features reflecting the dim light. "I won't fail," he said simply. As the first light of Zaire's twin moons illuminated the city, the resistance moved into position. Jonas and his team worked to disable key surveillance nodes, creating a web of blind spots that allowed the infiltration team to slip through unnoticed. Kale, Elena, and a handful of operatives navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the command center, their movements a blend of precision and intuition. Terex, seated in his war room, monitored the situation with growing frustration. His once unshakable confidence had eroded, replaced by a simmering rage. "They think they can outplay me in my own arena," he muttered. "Fools." The infiltration team reached the central control chamber, where the core of Terex's operation was housed. Kale, using his intimate knowledge of the Ilonian systems, began to disable key defenses, while Elena and the others provided cover. The tension was palpable, every second a test of their resolve. But Terex was not so easily outmaneuvered. Sensing the breach, he activated a contingency plan, a self-destruct sequence that would destroy the command center and everything within it. "If I can't have Zaire," he declared, "then no one will." The resistance, faced with the sudden escalation, scrambled to disable the sequence. Jonas, working remotely, guided Kale through the process, their voices a rapid-fire exchange of instructions and updates. The stakes had never been higher, the margin for error razor-thin. Kale's hands moved with a precision born of desperation, his crystalline form reflecting the flickering light of the control chamber. As he worked to override the sequence, memories of his time under Terex's command flashed through his mind. The loyalty he had once felt, the respect he had once held, it was all a distant echo, replaced by the clarity of purpose that had defined his journey. Elena, standing guard, fought off waves of Ilonian soldiers who had converged on their position. Her movements were fluid and deliberate, her determination a beacon for the team. "We're not leaving without you, Kale," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. Finally, with seconds to spare, Kale succeeded in disabling the self-destruct sequence. The relief was palpable, but the mission was not yet over. Terex, enraged by the turn of events, confronted the team in the control chamber. "You've betrayed everything we stand for," Terex spat, his crystalline features twisted with fury. "For what? These humans and their games?" Kale stepped forward, his voice calm but resolute. "I betrayed nothing. I chose to see what you refused to. They taught me to think, to adapt, to connect. That's what makes them strong. And that's why you've already lost." The confrontation escalated into a fierce battle, with Kale and Terex clashing in a duel that was as much about ideology as it was about skill. Their movements were a blur of precision and power, the control chamber trembling under the force of their blows. In the end, it was Kale's adaptability that proved decisive. Drawing on the lessons he had learned from the resistance, he outmaneuvered Terex, disarming him and ending the fight. Terex, defeated but defiant, was taken into custody by the resistance. The fall of Terex marked a turning point for Zaire and the galaxy at large. The Ilonians' grip on the city was broken, and the resistance's efforts ignited a wave of uprisings across the sector. For the first time in months, hope began to take root. As the team regrouped in the aftermath of the mission, Kale reflected on his journey. The floppy disk, the game of hide-and-seek, the lessons of connection and trust, it had all led to this moment. He had found a new purpose, a new identity, and a new sense of belonging. Elena, standing beside him, placed a hand on his shoulder. "You changed the game, Kale," she said, "and because of that, we all have a chance to win." For Kale, the journey was far from over. The galaxy was still rife with challenges, still in need of the lessons he had learned. But as he looked out over the liberated city of Zaire, he knew that the fire of connection and resilience would continue to guide him. And as the stars shimmered above, casting their light over a galaxy united by hope and resilience, the legacy of hide-and-seek endured, a testament to the power of connection, the importance of trust, and the infinite possibilities of dreaming together. The liberation of Zaire sent shockwaves through the galaxy. News of the Resistance's victory spread quickly, inspiring uprisings on other Ilonian-occupied worlds. For the first time in years, the balance of power seemed to be shifting. Yet the Resistance knew their fight was far from over. General Terex's defeat had created a power vacuum, one that could be exploited by even more ruthless factions if left unchecked. Elena, Kale, and Jonas found themselves at the center of the next phase of the struggle. The Resistance, emboldened by their success, began to unify disparate groups into a coordinated movement. Kale, once viewed with suspicion, had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the most unlikely alliances could change the course of history. "Your defection has done more than cripple Terex's forces," Elena told Kale during one of their strategy meetings. "It's shown people that change is possible, even among the Ilonians. That's something we need to build on." Kale, though humbled by the trust placed in him, was acutely aware of the challenges ahead. The Resistance's newfound momentum had drawn the attention of powerful adversaries, including factions within the Ilonian Empire who sought to restore restore their dominance. Among these was Commander Zyra, a cunning strategist and Terex's former protege, who vowed to crush the resistance and reclaim Zyre. Zyra's arrival marked a turning point in the conflict. Unlike Terex, whose reliance on brute force had ultimately been his undoing, Zyra was both methodical and adaptable. She studied the resistance's tactics, seeking to exploit their vulnerabilities and turn their strengths against them. The resistance, aware of the growing threat, convened a council to discuss their next steps. The meeting, held in a hidden enclave beneath Zyre, brought together leaders from across the sector. For many, it was the first time they had seen Kale in person. His presence, though initially met with hesitation, quickly became a rallying point. "We can't fight Zyra the same way we fought Terex," Kale said, addressing the council. "She won't make the same mistakes, but she also doesn't understand what we've built here, our connections, our resilience. That's where we have the advantage." Jonas, ever the skeptic, voiced his concerns. "And what happens if she does figure it out? What if she uses it against us? Then we adapt," Elena said firmly. "Just like we always have." The council's deliberations led to a bold decision: to take the fight to Zyra before she could consolidate her forces. The plan, ambitious and risky, involved a series of coordinated strikes designed to disrupt her supply lines and weaken her position. Kale, drawing on his knowledge of Ilonian strategy, played a key role in crafting the operation. The Resistance's efforts unfolded over weeks, each mission a test of their resolve and ingenuity. They used the principles of hide and seek, patience, misdirection, and adaptability to outmaneuver Zyra's forces. The missions were not without cost. Every victory was tempered by the sacrifices of those who gave their lives for the cause. One of the most pivotal moments came during an operation to intercept a convoy carrying advanced weaponry to Zyra's command. The Resistance, outnumbered and outgunned, relied on a combination of decoys and guerrilla tactics to neutralize the convoy. Kale, leading the assault, demonstrated a remarkable ability to anticipate Zyra's moves, his insights proving critical to their success. Yet, even as the Resistance gained ground, the toll of the conflict weighed heavily on its leaders. Elena, whose unwavering determination had been a source of strength, began to feel the strain of the responsibility she carried. Kale, recognizing her burden, offered his support. "You don't have to do this alone," he said during a quiet moment. "We're in this together." Elena, though reluctant to show vulnerability, nodded. "I know," she said, "but sometimes it feels like the weight of the galaxy is on my shoulders." "It's not just on you," Kale replied. "It's on all of us. And as long as we stand together, we can carry it." Their bond, forged through shared struggle, became a cornerstone of the Resistance's strength. Together, they faced the challenges ahead with renewed determination. The final confrontation with Zyra unfolded in the ruins of an ancient city on the outskirts of Zyre. The city, once a hub of Ilonian culture, had been abandoned after a catastrophic war centuries earlier. Its crumbling structures and labyrinthine streets provided the perfect backdrop for the Resistance's most daring operation yet. The battle was fierce and chaotic, with both sides pushing their limits. Zyra, though a formidable adversary, underestimated the depth of the Resistance's resolve. Kale, using the lessons he had learned from hide and seek, orchestrated a series of maneuvers that turned the tide of the battle. In the end, Zyra's forces were routed, and the commander herself was captured. The Resistance, though exhausted, emerged victorious. For the first time, the possibility of lasting peace began to feel within reach. As the dust settled, Kale and Elena stood together on the city's highest tower, overlooking the liberated landscape. The floppy disk, the game of hide and seek, the bonds they had forged, it had all led to this moment. "We've come so far," Elena said, her voice tinged with both pride and exhaustion. "But there's still so much to do, and we'll do it," Kale replied. Together, as the stars shimmered above, casting their light over a galaxy forever changed, the legacy of hide and seek endured, a testament to the power of connection, the importance of trust, and the infinite possibilities of dreaming together. With Zyra defeated and the Resistance stronger than ever, a new chapter began for the galaxy. The fall of Ilonian control in Zyre set off a domino effect, as other occupied worlds rose up to claim their freedom. The coalition of free worlds, an alliance forged by the Resistance, became a beacon of hope for countless systems seeking autonomy and peace. Elena, now a celebrated leader, found herself at the center of this burgeoning movement. Her ability to inspire trust and unity among disparate factions was unmatched, yet she remained grounded, remembering the sacrifices that had brought them this far. Kale, too, had become a symbol of change. His defection and subsequent leadership within the Resistance challenged long-held assumptions about the Ilonians. His journey from loyal officer to advocate for unity inspired others to question their own loyalties and embrace the possibility of collaboration. As the coalition worked to rebuild, one of their first acts was to establish a network of sanctuaries for displaced populations. These sanctuaries, designed to provide safety and resources, became hubs of culture and learning. Kale took a leading role in this effort, his insights into both Ilonian and human society proving invaluable. One day, as he oversaw the construction of a sanctuary on the outskirts of Zaire, Kale received a visitor, an elderly human woman who had survived the occupation. She carried with her a small, weathered object, a floppy disk. "I thought you might appreciate this," she said, handing the disk to Kale. "It's not much, but it's a piece of our history, a reminder of where we've been and how far we've come." Kale, moved by the gesture, accepted the disk with reverence. "Thank you," he said. "This will be a symbol of what we've achieved together." The floppy disk was placed in a central hall within the sanctuary, accompanied by a plaque that read, "In honor of the resilience of all who fought for freedom and the connections that brought us together." As the years passed, the legacy of hide-and-seek continued to shape the galaxy. The game, once a simple children's pastime, had become a metaphor for the principles of adaptation, trust, and unity that had defined the resistance. It was taught in schools, celebrated in festivals, and used as a tool for teaching strategy and cooperation. Elena and Kale, though their paths occasionally diverged, remained close allies and friends. Their bond, forged through shared struggle, was a reminder of the power of trust and connection. Together, they worked to ensure that the lessons of the resistance were not forgotten. One of their most memorable collaborations was the creation of the Unity Accord, a galactic charter that codified the principles of mutual respect, collaboration, and shared responsibility. The Accord, ratified by representatives from dozens of worlds, became the foundation for a new era of peace and prosperity. As the coalition celebrated the 5th anniversary of Zaire's liberation, Elena and Kale stood together beneath the city's rebuilt skyline. The stars above shimmered with a brilliance that mirrored the hope in their hearts. "We've come a long way," Elena said, her voice filled with both pride and reflection. "And we've got a long way to go," Kale replied, "but we'll get there, together." As the celebrations unfolded around them, the legacy of hide-and-seek endured, a testament to the power of connection, the importance of trust, and the infinite possibilities of dreaming together. Years later, long after the events of the resistance had faded into history, children across the galaxy continued to play hide-and-seek. They ran through the streets of rebuilt cities and the fields of liberated worlds, their laughter echoing with the promise of a brighter future. And as the stars watched over them, their light a reminder of the resilience and unity that had defined their journey, the galaxy continued to evolve, a tapestry of countless stories, all woven together by the enduring legacy of a simple game that had hidden heroes and revealed the strength of humanity. The coalition's success became a beacon for other galaxies. Delegations from neighboring systems began reaching out, inspired by the unity that had reshaped Zaire and the surrounding regions. The lessons of hide-and-seek, resilience, adaptation, and connection were no longer just principles of strategy but a philosophy that guided entire civilizations. Elena, Kale, and Jonas became ambassadors of this new philosophy. Their story, rooted in the trials of the resistance, was told and retold across countless worlds. Each retelling emphasized the courage it took to trust, the strength found in unity, and the power of even the simplest acts to create profound change. One of the coalition's most ambitious projects was the establishment of the Stellar Concord, a network of worlds connected not only by trade and diplomacy but also by shared values. The Concord's creation required immense effort, as leaders from diverse cultures worked to overcome centuries of mistrust. Elena, with her ability to inspire and mediate, played a pivotal role in these negotiations. Kale, whose insights into Ilonian strategy had once been a weapon of war, now used his knowledge to promote peace. He traveled to worlds still recovering from conflict, helping to rebuild infrastructure and forge alliances. His presence, once a source of fear, became a symbol of hope. During one of his missions, Kale visited a remote planet called Lyria 7, where he discovered an ancient temple dedicated to the idea of harmony between species. The temple's walls were inscribed with symbols that resonated with the frequencies of the shard, suggesting a connection to the Lyrathans, a civilization whose legacy had once shaped the galaxy. The discovery reignited Kale's curiosity about the galaxy's ancient history. He shared his findings with Elena and Jonas, and together they began an expedition to uncover the deeper connections between their present struggles and and the wisdom of the past. The expedition led them to the Edge Nebula, a region of space shrouded in mystery. Within the nebula, they found a crystalline archive that pulsed with a rhythmic light. The archive, though damaged, contained fragments of messages from an ancient alliance that had once united the galaxy. The stars are not divided, one message read. They are bound by light and gravity, by connection and resonance. Let those who follow us remember that unity is not the absence of difference, but the embrace of it. The message, though ancient, spoke directly to the challenges of the present. For Elena, Kale, and Jonas, it was a reaffirmation of their mission and a reminder of the responsibility they carried. As the Stellar Concord took shape, the coalition worked to ensure that its lessons were preserved for future generations. They established the Academy of Resonance, an institution dedicated to teaching the principles of unity and connection. The Academy's curriculum included not only the history of the resistance, but also practical applications of the lessons learned from hide and seek. Children from across the galaxy came to the Academy, their laughter echoing through its halls as they played the game that had once hidden heroes and revealed their strength. The floppy disk, enshrined within the Academy, became a symbol of their journey, a reminder that even the smallest actions could have the greatest impact. One day, as Elena and Kale walked through the Academy's gardens, they reflected on how far they had come. "Do you ever think about where it all began?" Elena asked, her voice soft. "Every day," Kale replied. "It started with a game, a simple game, but it became so much more. It became a way to see each other, to trust each other. And that's what changed everything." Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars. "We've done so much," she said, "but there's still more to do. And we'll do it," Kale said, his voice steady. Together, the years passed and the Stellar Concord grew stronger. Worlds that had once been divided by conflict became interconnected by trade, culture, and shared values. The principles of hide and seek, adaptation, connection, and resilience continued to guide them, shaping a galaxy that thrived on unity. As the coalition celebrated the 10th anniversary of Zaire's liberation, Elena, Kale, and Jonas stood together on a stage overlooking the rebuilt city. The stars above shimmered with a brilliance that seemed almost alive, their light weaving patterns that echoed the rhythms of the shard. Elena addressed the gathered crowd, her voice filled with both pride and humility. "This journey began with a single game," she said. "A game that taught us to see each other, to trust each other, and to dream of something greater. Let us honor that legacy by continuing to dream, to connect, and to build a future worthy of its lessons." The cheers that followed echoed across the galaxy, their resonance weaving through every voice, every bond, and every shared moment. For Elena, Kale, and Jonas, it was a reminder that their journey was far from over, that the fire of connection, once sparked, could never be extinguished. And as the stars shimmered above, casting their light over a galaxy united by hope and resilience, the legacy of hide and seek endured, a testament to the power of connection, the importance of trust, and the infinite possibilities of dreaming together. The Stellar Concord's expansion brought challenges that tested the galaxy's commitment to unity. While most worlds embraced the vision of connection, some factions resisted, clinging to old rivalries and fears. The coalition faced the difficult task of mediating disputes, rebuilding trust, and addressing inequalities that threatened to unravel their progress. Elena, Kale, and Jonas became the architects of these efforts, traveling across the galaxy to foster dialogue and collaboration. Their journeys took them to remote colonies, war-torn regions, and even Ilonian strongholds where remnants of Terex's ideology still lingered. One of their most significant missions was to Medran, a planet divided by a century-long feud between two dominant clans. The conflict had left the planet scarred and its people weary, yet neither side was willing to yield. The coalition's presence was met with skepticism, but Elena's reputation preceded her. During a tense negotiation, Elena spoke directly to the clan leaders. "You've fought for so long that you've forgotten what peace feels like," she said. "But peace isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing a future where your children can live without fear. Let us help you build that future." Kale, drawing on his experiences, offered a strategic solution that addressed both clans' concerns. His insights, coupled with Elena's diplomacy, helped to broker a fragile truce. The mission was a testament to the power of connection and the lessons of hide and seek, of seeing beyond division and finding common ground. As the years passed, the Stellar Concord became a model for intergalactic collaboration. Its principles were enshrined in the Galactic Accord, a charter that codified the values of trust, adaptability, and mutual respect. The Accord was celebrated with a galaxy-wide festival, a joyous occasion that brought together species from every corner of the stars. At the heart of the festival was the Academy of Resonance, where children played hide and seek in the gardens, their laughter a symbol of the hope that had been rekindled. The floppy disk, enshrined within the Academy, remained a focal point point of inspiration, its story a reminder that even the smallest actions could have profound ripple effects. Elena, now a revered elder of the coalition, reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She stood before the floppy disk, her fingers tracing the inscription on its plaque. Who would have thought, she mused aloud, that something so simple could carry us so far? Kale, standing beside her, nodded. It's not the disk itself, he said. It's what it represents, the connections we forged, the lessons we learned, and the choices we made. That's what gives it meaning. Jonas, ever the realist, added with a smirk. And let's not forget all the times we nearly got ourselves killed. The trio shared a laugh, their bond unshaken by the years. They had faced countless trials together, yet their friendship had only grown stronger. For them, the floppy disk was more than an artifact. It was a symbol of their shared journey, a testament to the power of unity and resilience. As the festival reached its climax, Elena addressed the gathered crowd. Her voice, though weathered by time, carried the same strength and conviction that had guided the resistance. The journey we began was never just about victory, she said. It was about connection, about seeing each other, trusting each other, and dreaming together. That is the legacy we leave behind, not as individuals, but as a galaxy united by hope. The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices rising in a symphony of celebration. For Elena, Kale, and Jonas, it was a moment of profound fulfillment, a reminder that their efforts had not been in vain. As the festival lights illuminated the galaxy, casting their glow across countless worlds, the legacy of hide and seek endured. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the adaptability of the Ilonians, and the infinite possibilities of unity. And as the stars shimmered above, their light weaving patterns of connection and hope, the galaxy continued to evolve, a tapestry of countless stories, all bound together by the enduring legacy of a simple game that had hidden heroes and revealed the strength of their bonds. The years following the Galactic Accord saw the galaxy enter an unprecedented era of prosperity. Worlds once isolated by mistrust and conflict became vibrant hubs of trade, culture, and innovation. The values of the stellar concord, unity, adaptability, and resilience, became cornerstones of a new intergalactic civilization. Yet, the work of maintaining this fragile harmony was never-ending. Elena, Kale, and Jonas remained at the forefront of these efforts, their experiences making them indispensable as advisors and mediators. Their presence became a symbol of stability, their story a reminder of what could be achieved through connection and trust. One of their most challenging missions came when a mysterious anomaly appeared near the outer rim. The anomaly, a swirling vortex of light and energy, disrupted communication networks and caused unexplained gravitational fluctuations. The coalition dispatched a team of scientists and diplomats, with Elena, Kale, and Jonas at the helm, to investigate. As their ship approached the anomaly, they were met with a sight that left them awestruck. Within the vortex, fragments of crystalline structures shimmered, their patterns reminiscent of the Lyrithan architecture they had encountered years earlier. The discovery reignited questions about the ancient civilization's role in shaping the galaxy's history. Kale, whose curiosity about the Lyrathans had only deepened over time, led the effort to decode the patterns within the anomaly. With the help of advanced harmonic analysis, the team uncovered a message encoded in the structures, a message that spoke of unity across galaxies, of connections that transcended time and space. The universe is not a series of isolated points, the message read. It is a web of connections, each strand strengthened by the bonds it weaves. Let those who hear this message carry forward the dream of unity, for it is in connection that we find our greatest strength. The message, though ancient, felt deeply relevant. For Elena, Kale, and Jonas, it was a reaffirmation of the principles that had guided their journey. They transmitted the findings to the coalition, sparking a renewed interest in exploring the galaxy's shared history and its potential future. The anomaly itself, though enigmatic, became a focal point for scientific and cultural collaboration. It was preserved as a monument to the galaxy's interconnectedness, a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, unity could illuminate the path forward. As the coalition celebrated the discovery, Elena, Kale, and Jonas found themselves reflecting on their own journey. They stood together on the observation deck of their ship, gazing out at the stars that had been their constant companions. "We've seen so much," Jonas said, his voice tinged with both wonder and weariness. "And yet, it feels like we're only just beginning." Kale nodded. "The stars have a way of reminding us how small we are and how much we can achieve when we work together." Elena, her gaze fixed on the shimmering anomaly, smiled. "The journey never really ends, does it? There's always more to discover, more to build, more to connect." As the years turned into decades, their legacy became enshrined in the very fabric of the galaxy. The Academy of Resonance, the Stellar Concord, and the Galactic Accord all bore bore the mark of their dedication and vision. Children continued to play hide and seek, their laughter echoing through rebuilt cities and verdant fields, a living testament to the game that had shaped the galaxy's destiny. And as the stars shimmered above, casting their light over a galaxy united by hope and resilience, the legacy of hide and seek endured, a testament to the power of connection, the importance of trust, and the infinite possibilities of dreaming together. The anomaly near the outer rim became a gateway for the galaxy's next great chapter. The message hidden within its crystalline patterns inspired a wave of exploration and innovation, as species across the stellar concord worked together to decode its mysteries. The Coalition, now a thriving network of worlds, transformed into a civilization defined not by its borders, but by its connections. Elena, Kale, and Jonas continued their work, their roles evolving as the galaxy grew. Elena, revered as a visionary leader, dedicated herself to mentoring the next generation of diplomats and peacemakers. Kale, whose journey from Ilonian officer to advocate for unity had become the stuff of legend, worked to bridge cultural divides and foster understanding. Jonas, ever the realist, became a champion of practical solutions, ensuring that the Coalition's ideals were grounded in action. One of their final missions together took them to Lyria 7, where a new academy was being established to train leaders in the principles of connection and resilience.